Hello, hello.
Good morning. I apologize. My 9 o'clock ran a few minutes late. I apologize for that.
Helen, are you attending the meeting from a greenhouse? Looks very eco-friendly there.
I wish that was mine. I'm afraid all of it will be brown if they were in my house.
Well, we definitely don't have a quorum yet.
No, just the two of us right
Just the
now.
two of us, yeah.
I know Lloyd is out today. Ruby's out.
You're all by yourself while you hunt a lamb.
I think Hanalei is in today. Haven't heard from Sharita, and I know Dr. Birch, I think, sent minutes. Let me see here.
Angel here for that.
She wasn't sure if she'd make it because I think she had some advocacy work she was doing today. Something, I'm trying to remember what it was, like a conflicting meeting.
As long as we have nothing we have to vote on, we should be fine.
We don't have anything we have to vote on. It was just sort of figuring out our HSAC agenda.
Yeah.
And then sort of thinking through if there's anybody we want to tap or reach out to about
You haven't had a
secretary and vice chair.
offer? You haven't had a flood of offers yet?
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of.
Right.
I don't know.
Oh, heavens.
We'll have to volunteer somebody to do it. Maybe we just cancel our June meeting.
Well, considering you don't have one in July.
I know, right? Because I've got, I'm trying to think if we've got anything. We may have, there's some stuff that's up in the air regarding COC NOFO reallocations that performance management may be making some recommendations on. So that, but that's kind of up in the air, and we got to wait for performance management to meet and make some decisions.
Was this supposed to be the month for executive committee to do quarterly update?
I believe, hang on a second. I think you're probably right, Helen. Performance management. Yep, it is executive committee. share my screen here, and what we'll do is we'll just punt our punt approval of executive committee minutes till next month when we have everybody here. If that works.
I mean, you're recording, so that somebody can do minutes.
Yeah. So at this point, I've got an executive committee update, possible reallocation, discussion, and vote. That's regarding the COC. Other items that we have that need to be in the June.
I don't know if this is it's just, I was just looking at my notes from the last HSAC meeting, and Commissioner Carter had brought up something that we might want to discuss today, but again, short. I'm trying to read my notes.
Sure.
Like HSAC might want to sound the alarm to the city and county about imminent evictions without additional resources for rental assistance and other fees. Because I know there was a long discussion about all that.
I'm doing rental assistance.
Yeah, when our guest was talking about the legal aid, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And trying to talk about how we might help more people with no money.
Right.
I mean, so I think the thing that we need to think about is we're talking about an eviction prevention program. And while we don't want anybody to be evicted because it's completely disruptive to all families and children and everything else, only a very, very small percentage of all people evicted end up in the homeless system.
Right.
So unless we've got money for a tiny, like, I guess if we were going to talk about it, we might need to pare it down. And we did a homeless prevention program with our ESG CV funds with VOA had money for that and Open Table Ministry. And this was, maybe $500,000. And it was really earmarked to be specifically for people who, without this assistance, would literally be coming into the homeless system. And, that program is just now, those programs are kind of wrapping up. And it's hard to know, how
Y'all, it's
successful we're
Sarita. I'm in a store, so I'm gonna put myself on mute. I'm sorry.
All right. Hey, Sharita.
To clarify, though, Colin, we do still have money to prevent evictions for people who are at high risk of homelessness through diversion, and the county also still has its regular eviction diversion money. So there are still resources. Maybe this is an
But it's not-
educational opportunity.
But it's not the same amount.
No,
And
I
that's-
know. I'm just
Yeah.
to your point about the fact that for people who are at risk of entering the homeless system, we do still have dollars.
Mhm.
Maybe this is an educational opportunity to remind folks of those sources. If people are
Mhm.
perceiving that there's no money, it certainly doesn't resolve the eviction crisis, but it is intended to prevent people entering the homeless system. And we do still have those dollars. And we have never run out of diversion money to assist people. So, that amount should still allow us to assist those who are in an immediate crisis and are about to enter the homeless system.
As we officially have a quorum now, we can officially put our meeting to order.
Okay, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair. I was speaking at a conference and I looked at the time. I was trying to get off stage so I could get
All right, that's not a problem. No,
on.
it was just two of us for a little bit. Now we have four. We're good.
And I think, hold on a second. I think, Angelo, you sent the minutes from our last executive
Yes.
committee.
Yes.
And
I
I think,
sent them this already, so you should have those. I just sent them to you, to the chair, and to Ruby.
yep, and I think Ruby and I may not have gotten them sent out to everybody, but let me forward those now.
I was just looking to see if I had them.
It's not to Sharita. Jonathan. Dr. Birch, I'm not going to send it back to you since you already have them, unless you want me to add you to the list. All right, so I'll just send it to. All right, just sent you all minutes. Apologize. Okay. So executive committee update, possible COC NOFO reallocation. We can discuss, do a small presentation on funds available for homeless prevention after all the emergency rental assistance program funds and other topics.
I don't have anything.
Oh, what we could do is we could share. Now that we're sort of working on all of our contracts for non-congregate shelter. Shelter, rapid rehousing, and landlord engagement. Could do that sort of. Any other topics you all think are worth bringing up?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I see that sharing the funds available, I assume that's the conversation I kind of came on when I logged in. That's what you guys were talking about. Will that include a discussion about criteria and people who wouldn't qualify? Or would that just be just us, giving an update about what's available? Or will we be able to get, other kinds of information? Like, for example, if somebody has already received those funds, would they be eligible now to receive those funds again? Those kinds of things.
I think that's a really good point, Sharita, that it's probably good for us. Probably good for us to add the criteria, who's eligible, who's not eligible, as well as amounts of funds, so that people don't think it's like, oh, there's $8 million available.
So Sheree, did you want me to answer that question, or was that just like a question to flow out?
I'm just asking if in whatever that discussion is, will we have access to that information as well? That's just what I'm asking, because I don't want to, to have that information and then somebody has used it before or something like that, and it's really not available to them. So I don't want to be giving anybody the runaround. So some discussion about, not just how much is available, but who would qualify for that.
Okay. Yes, I think we could provide that. There's no cap like annually on diversion fund assistance. There is on the county funds, as you know, that you can only use them once a year.
So maybe what we can do is see if Levette or somebody from the county can talk about their program, and then let Dr. Collins talk about the VOA diversion. And that might be
Well,
good
that
to have.
operates both programs with VOA. So I think asking Levette, she would be able to cover both programs.
Okay. Well, I was just trying to find a way to sort of, let people kind of meet and see that there's more than just DSS.
Right, but Levette also operates the entry point funds. She's the supervisor of both programs, so she would be able to talk about both.
So, but Levette doesn't control all the diversion funds that are in the VOA contract. She has access to them, right?
Right, so if we just want someone to come and one person who can speak about what the county eviction diversion does and what the city diversion does, Levette can speak about both because she's the supervisor over both programs. We don't need separate people.
Okay.
Either person can talk about the diversion, and I agree that Levette would be the right person to talk about the county eviction diversion.
Okay.
So does that go to what Sharita was just asking?
Yes, I think it does, because we could have Levette talk about what the criteria is for the county programs and what the criteria is for diversion funds on the coordinated entry diversion piece, and they would be able to share how much money is available on an annual basis in each of those. And my guess is combined between the two, it's probably less than $500,000.
Okay, so and I want to make sure, and I hope this doesn't sound crazy, but these are not two different pockets of funds. They're are they put together, or they are two different pockets?
They're two different funding sources, and they're two different pockets of money. But DSS has access to both pots. VOA has access sort of to both pots as well.
Okay. So I guess my question, and it may be irrelevant, or there's another word I want. I can't think of it right now. I'm sorry, my brain is fried from this morning. But if I was able to go to DSS and qualify for one pot, but I couldn't get the money that I need, all the money, could I then turn around and go to the other pot?
So the way that it works is often people qualify for diversion, but not eviction diversion, because diversion is the more flexible assistance. So yes, the answer to your question is yes, you can qualify for both, and often we use them in combination to cover the needs of the client. County diversion, eviction diversion is our first stop, and we try to use those funds first since they're more restrictive and there's more money in that pot. And then if the client is not eligible or the for cost has not been covered by the county eviction diversion, then we go to homeless diversion.
So, and then I'm going to be done because I know we have to move on. So who helps navigate through all of that?
So if people come to DSS saying they're at imminent risk of being homelessness, they should be getting bumped over to entry point. And entry point kind of helps people navigate what they're eligible for, and they'll refer them back over to the county eviction diversion if they appear to be eligible, and then like have them come back and say, well, this is what I got, and try to cover the difference. But entry point is supposed to be kind of like the central first point of access, and they kind of are aware of the various programs and help people navigate them. But we talked a few years ago about having Janine actually put in a request a few years back. Janine, the head of adult and crisis services for the county, put in a request for a staff member that would be trained in both, but I don't think that staff member ever got funded because then COVID started. So at the moment, it's two different teams that cover each pot, but the two teams are aware of each other and kind of work together.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Thank you all.
I have another question.
Yes, Rita.
So, in this conversation, I'm thinking about those people who were not funded under the program that legal aid just just ended. And so are there caps to those other pots of funds that would prevent the person from being able to get all the money they needed to prevent homelessness? Are there maximum outs that can be paid out?
So there are formulas. So for eviction diversion, I don't know the formula offhand, but Lavette will. There is a formula. They pretty much never get the full cost from eviction diversion. There's always like some kind of percent formula. I don't know exactly how they calculate it. And then for city homeless diversion, there's no cap in the contract, but historically they've also used a formula using the model of diversion that seeks to have clients support their own resolutions. So there's usually a process where like they figure out what the client can contribute, and then they figure out what the city will meet them on, or not the city, but the city funds. So at the end result is that effectively, yeah, they're not going to get an infinite amount of funds from either project.
Colin, I have one more question.
Sure.
Is that Leah running?
Is what?
Is that Hannah Leah?
Yes, Hanalei is.
Yes,
Want to make
I'm
sure.
I'm not running, but I am walking. So sorry, I'm out of breath.
Okay, I just want to make sure so I can put it down on the minutes. Thank you. That's all I need. Slow down.
Okay.
So I mean, I would just ask that whoever comes to present, that they be able to provide that kind of information up front would be great. Just so folks will have an idea of what's available, but what it looks like and what the challenges still may be. Because it sounds like there may need to be some kind of sustainability plan attached to the residents, the tenants portion from the way you're describing it, Hanalea. So if we
Yeah,
can
that's
just
correct.
we get that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's correct. So one of the requirements, and I think it's a good idea. We can definitely have them speak to this. It's in the eligibility criteria. One of the requirements of both pots is that the client has a sustainability plan. The county eviction diversion are a lot more, let's say, kind of letter of the law about what that sustainability plan has to look like. But both projects have requirements that there is sustainability plan in place. So what I've seen is that usually when a client comes in with an imminent eviction and they are not helped and they become homeless, it's usually for that reason, that they don't have any source of income to sustain the rent. So the projects aren't going to pay that, so that's definitely something valuable, and it's part of the eligibility for both projects.
So, and I know I keep saying this, but anyway, I guess my question, what you just said, Hanalea, gets to, and someone help me with this. But if someone is coming down and they don't even know that they're supposed to have a sustainability plan, or, either, they're not going to be, how do they get this information before they get it, get to DSS? Or because the problem I'm having is, if a person drives all the way down, well, most of them may not be able to drive, so they take all these buses to get down to DSS, only to be denied. How is this information getting to the people that need it before they even decide they need to go to DSS, rather than just show up at DSS and then all of a sudden all these things are being told what they need to do? Does that make sense?
So both programs, yeah, it does. Both programs are primarily operating by phone intakes right now. So we definitely encourage folks to call instead of showing up in person, because if they do show up in person, there's limited in-person services still because of COVID. So, the main folks who show up in person are people who don't have phones. But in terms of the first conversation, I know entry point, they're going to be, the way that diversion works, it's not a program where we say, well, here's your money, go off. The way that a traditional assistance program, diversion is a problem-solving conversation with the client that may end in some financial assistance. So they're going to be talking about that, okay, so, how much you owe, is there anyone that you could get to help you? Do you have anything that you could use? How would you pay the rent moving forward? So it's a conversation. I can't really speak to that with the county DSS program as much, other than to say that there are phone intakes these days, which there didn't really used to be. But I think it's pretty common actually that clients do call DSS and then they get denied for the funds. So that does happen. Where the information is, if it's really readily available on DSS's website, I have not been able to find that eligibility criteria on DSS's website, so that might be something to ask about. But I know at least for diversion that's how it works.
So it's not, and I know that just by my own experience with helping folks in this situation, which is why I was asking those questions. But I would say to answer your question, your last question, Dr. Burgess, I think that's the reason why I'm asking the questions that I'm asking, to make sure that information is presented up front, because we do have a lot of our providers, our homeless service providers who are in the audience in our HSAC meeting. So I think, being able to provide them with a realistic picture of, yes, there are these additional funds, but these are the criteria a person needs to be ready to address when they go to that, to DSS for assistance.
Thank you, because, so everything you all are saying is just leading me to something else, because even in phone interviews, and this isn't everyone, but, there are a lot of people that still, they don't have a Sprint phone like I do, or T-Mobile like I do, and most of us. Some of them are paying for minutes, but and so every time they use a minute, they have to find the money to go get that phone reset. So, it's kind of hard. And I know this is something we can't deal with, but, it's something I think we have to be cognizant of, is that if I have to do an interview on the phone and it's going to take me 20 minutes to get in touch with someone, by the time I get put on hold and then they go find this and they go to, if I only have 160 minutes, that's going to eat my time up for the month. And that, okay, I know that's off the beaten path. I'm through.
No. You're speaking exactly what our folks are experiencing and living. A lot of people just kind of show it to me and say, Miss Sharita, I know I can call DSS, but I don't have the minutes on my phone for how long it might take on that phone call. And so, they come see me and we go through it on my phone so they don't have to use their phone. But my question to add to that, is there any way that we can, is DSS working on any kind of texting function? Because a lot of these phone carriers have unlimited text. And so that might be a way for people who can at least navigate the text process to be able to communicate back and forth, like via like a chat, a live chat or a chat session or something like that, where they can text information back and forth. Have you heard anything about anything like that?
Yeah, so I think I was thinking along the same lines, because I know a lot of times we have clients that can't call, but they can text. I know entry point text. I don't know the answer about DSS. I suspect the answer is no, that they're not working on that. It kind of more creative software for more flexible ways of doing appointments has been kind of long in discussion with DSS, but not really made much in progress. I think that would really be a question beyond Levette's scope. I think for something like that, we would need to talk to Janine. So that might be someone else to invite. Levette's definitely the right person to talk through like eligibility criteria for programs and just like how they are basis. But in terms of like requests for changes to policies more at the like county level, that's definitely a Janine conversation. I think it's an important conversation and a valuable one. And like I said, we definitely on the diversion side see a lot of clients who need text instead of call. So I think it's a useful one, but I'm not aware of a capacity that the county has to text. Mostly it's just our VOA staff that do the texting.
Janine is still on HSAC, right?
She is.
Okay.
Yep.
But we just
As
don't
is
know if she'll
and
be.
Levesque for Prop C. Yeah, so they're both probably going to be there. Yeah.
I mean, in my mind, DSS has been the longest service provider and most needed service provider who's had their doors closed for the longest since the pandemic, in my opinion. It's going on like 3 years. This is crazy. And they're still not open to seeing that many people in person. There has to be some other kind of way that they can communicate with people. I mean, I understand what you're saying. It's out of our hands, but I think we should at least make an ask.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, Sharita. And I think that, yeah, it's true. I mean, the only way to communicate with the county, if you don't have a phone, is to go over there in person and like use their lobby phones, which is obviously not going to be that convenient for a lot of folks. So yeah, I definitely think having a conversation, but like I said, I think that would be a Janine level conversation.
Connected to you guys.
Yeah, I should add that Lavette told me that she thought the timeline for the county reopening, take this with a grain of salt because it's Lavette, but she said she thought after the new parking lot was finished, because right now I guess they have really limited parking for staff because of the construction that's happening. She said that she thought that that's when in-person intakes would reopen for the county for DSS.
Does VOA have in-person intakes available, Hanalea?
VOA is, as far as I know, I actually had a call out to Sharice last week to double check that this is still their status, and I'm waiting for a call back. But as far as I know, the status with VOA is still mostly phone, but if you show up, they're like serve you through their window, like they have a service window.
At Gilbert Street or?
At Gilbert Street. Yeah, the
Okay.
county, it's the county rules, so it's still
Right.
no one in the office. They just do it by the phone. But I'm working on double checking that because I already got an ask from someone else about it, but I believe that's still the case.
Okay. So I mean, that might be an option, at least until the county can reopen. People who need diversion funds might be able to go to Gilbert Street.
Well, for both programs, people can go in person, right? If you go to the county, you can still go into the lobby and use the lobby phones. They'll help you do that. I think the issue is something that doesn't require someone to go over in person if they don't have phone access. And at the moment, neither program has an option like that. Well, the VOA does have the texting, but I don't know if they have texting where it's like, I think this is a question for VOA is like, I think it's more like once you make contact with the client, they'll text with you. But I don't think you can just like text as your initial contact with Entry Point. So that's something else we could ask about and that they could kind of think about doing as an added, because I'm not aware of like, you can text as your kind of like, they don't have like a public text number kind of thing that I'm aware of, but we could ask about that.
Okay. All right, so we'll have a conversation about that, about what happens, what's in play after that ends, and then we'll have a conversation about the non-congregate shelter, rapid rehousing, landlord engagement that'll be starting July 1. And I think each of those could take a decent amount of time for conversation and questions. Is there anything else we feel that needs to go on the agenda?
Hopefully another call for elections and leadership.
Yep.
I was gonna say,
All right. Do we have anybody, speaking of elections, if there's nothing else for the agenda, do we have anybody we want to start tapping on the shoulder and asking about stepping up?
let me ask real quick before we forget, did everybody get the minutes and have you had time to look at them, or do we want to push this off to our next meeting to approve these?
The names are correct, Madam Vice Chair.
Actually, Dr. Birch, my
Oh,
name is
come on.
not correct. Yeah, you got an extra H in there. And I would be giving the update for performance management and not policy and planning. I'm chair of performance management. But beautifully done otherwise, other than those two very small minor suggestions.
But you're Jonathan.
JONATHAN.
You got it.
In the attendance at the very beginning, it's spelled correctly under committee members present.
I think Cullen did that after I sent them out.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Oh,
I had
I see. Colin sabotaged the minutes. My goodness.
Yes, Cullen sabotaged me. I'm just devastated now.
I'm so sorry, Dr. Birch. My osmosis is more powerful than I thought. I didn't realize I had the ESP ability to alter digital files mentally. That's pretty impressive.
Oh, I have another question too. I saw on the paragraph about Casey Buchanan. Is it Casey or KC? I was thinking it was KC for some reason, but I'm not positive about that.
I think it is K and C as well.
It is
Yeah.
just
Just
KC.
the
Yeah.
letters.
Yeah,
It
that's
is just
correct.
the letters.
Letter K, letter C.
Okay.
So that name would need to be corrected as well.
Okay.
Oh, and I have to check with Ruby and see if we've had anybody apply to fill Casey's seat on policy and planning. But at this point, we might as well just wait till the next cycle starts in August.
Month, because I think mine, well, I'm done this month, right?
I believe so, Dr. Birch.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. After
Uh,
Yeah, we don't meet in July, right? So this
That
is
is
it.
correct.
We are gonna miss you.
definitely.
I'm gonna miss you all. I'll show up every now and then, like a bad headache. So,
We want you to come back. We want
Yeah.
you to hang out. You bring a lot of good points to the meetings and have a lot of really good insights, Dr. Birch. So please join as often as you can.
thank you, thank you.
Please, please, please.
Are we okay with approving the minutes then? If so, I'll take a motion in a second.
Move to approve with the necessary corrections.
I second that.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I think Tarita was gonna log back in her office, but that's okay. All right, cool. Minutes are approved. We get back to the election discussion, officer discussion. Sorry, I just wanted to do that real quick to make sure we didn't forget.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, ma'am. All right. Is there anybody that we can think of, excuse me, that we want to reach out to about trying to,
Maybe it would be helpful, Colin, if we could pull up the list of members to like jog people's minds.
You reading about Honolulu?
let me see if I can get
Oh,
it.
they're
Hang on
already
a
up?
second.
Oh, okay. I'm on the phone, so sorry if they were already up.
No.
Hang on. Let me see if I can find the most recent version. Think I've got the most recent version, but we'll use it if it's the one that's saved as the most recent. So we'll go with it for now. If Ruby has a better one, we'll look at it, but it should get us at least started. Can you all see this?
Yes.
So we've got city manager Wanda Page, Dr. Birch, who is not eligible, unfortunately, Heidi Carter, Natalie Byer, Jonathan, Drew, Ryan Furman's, I think that seat ends June 30th as well. Janine, Colleen. Renee. Shanice. Sharita. Shaisha. Mark Anthony Middleton, Tracy Stone-Dino. Vega, Ebony. Alicia, Chris. Helen is already going to be chair. Amber. Didn't, I don't know if, I know Shay ran for secretary when she first joined. I don't know if she's still interested in it, but that might be an option.
She would be, because she's secretary of one of the committees now, so.
If performance
Continues to be
management.
interesting. Yeah. I would also say that in terms of people who've been super involved and like been really good about following through with other HSAC commitments, I would say Colleen, Ebony, and Shaisha have all been people that have been involved at the committee level and have been really good about following through.
I mean, those seem like good recommendations. Other thoughts?
Along the lines I was thinking.
So. So Colleen, Shaisha, Ebony.
And Colleen.
Yeah, I have Colleen, Shaisha, Ebony, and Shay. That'd be.
Because we'll have 2 vacant seats, right? That we'll need to fill.
We'll have, yeah, a secretary and vice chair. And then I think the county currently has 3 seats posted on their website that they're in the process of filling. I think one of those is Dr. Birch's seat. The other is nonprofit that Ryan Furman is in. And the other county seat is somebody with lived experience.
Have we sent those postings out to the HSAC to have people share them around? It's not.
I don't know.
A good idea.
Ruby and I just went through and we're trying to figure it out yesterday. So we just saw these posted yesterday, and we're going to talk to the county and to kind of see where they are, because the county postings, like, I didn't even know they were posted by the county. And I don't know if the county told Ruby that they had posted them. And I think for the nonprofit and the business or Dr. Birch's seat, the due date according to the website was May 31st. So we've got to figure out, and then the person with lived experience, it looks like it's an immediate opening, but there's no due date. So we'll have to figure out from the county how that works and see if we can get that sent out. And I know Angel Vic Lewis had suggested trying to get Rita McDaniels, I believe is her last name, connected to the HSAC.
So Rita served on one of our scoring committees.
She did.
And did of course, a great job. So she would be wonderful to hold a seat on HSAC.
Mm-hmm. So I talked to, well, Angel wanted to introduce me to Rita, not knowing that I had met Rita when she served on that scoring committee. So Rita and I chatted briefly on the phone, and I have her phone number to reach out to her. Angel called while they were both at the Capitol yesterday, I think, or earlier this week, advocating for Medicaid expansion and some of the other hot button items that were up for discussion and votes. But yeah, we can definitely get those sent out. And I think would you like us as staff to reach out to Colleen, Shaisha, Ebony, and Shay Kennard, see if any of them are interested in running for one or both of the positions?
Yeah, that would be great. And of course, I'm willing to talk with any of them, having served in all those roles, if they have any questions.
We can do that. Okay.
Where are those jobs, where are those things posted at on the county's website?
Oh, good Lord.
I wouldn't even know where to
Oh man, I forget how I got to it. I think because the county website is really, really hard to navigate.
Yeah.
I think I did a Google search for like Durham County boards and it popped up, and then I had to go into apply.
Oh, okay.
Can we put the link on the DurhamCOC.org site?
Yes, we could probably figure out how to do that. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on a second.
A lot of boards.
Like the
Colin,
boards. Yes, sir.
in the last executive committee meeting, when I was taking the minutes, who was it that you said, because I wanted to make sure that the name wasn't the same. That was the secretary for policy, or was it planning?
So
That was a case. That was Casey Buchanan.
Okay, that's the one that was supposed to be the secretary and hasn't been, has been incommunicado.
Correct. And Casey emailed right before our last HSAC meeting, stating that they felt that they were overcommitted and probably should come off the committee at this point in time. And
Okay.
when they have more capacity, maybe come back online with us. Because right now the LGBTQ Center is in the process of trying to get a COC rapid rehousing project up and running that they've never done before. And I think a few other initiatives that they've got sort of in the pipeline right now. Yeah, I agree, Sherita. Casey is great, and we're hoping to continue working with the LGBTQ Center. And one of the things that, as an HSAC, we're required to, or as a lead agency, we're required to make sure we do some equal access training. And one of the equal access topics is specifically about how to help people from the LGBTQ plus community to feel comfortable in accessing shelters and making sure shelters and the homeless system as a whole are inclusive and remove as many barriers as possible to do that. So we've reached out to the LGBTQ Center to see if they would be willing to partner with us to help do a training on access and what types of policies and procedures can be put in place within the homeless system to make our system more inclusive to the LGBTQ plus community. And they have agreed to join us on that, which is fantastic. Due to their workload, it'll probably be in the December to February timeframe before we can get that training up and running. But that is exciting that they are willing to partner with us, because they really have the most knowledge on what are the things they're hearing from the community that a lot of people from the LGBTQ plus community are not wanting to enter the homeless system. And hopefully we can start to close that gap and start to find a way that people can feel safe and comfortable to enter. Yeah, the transitional age youth, sure. Yeah, I think there's a whole lot of things that we need to do some trainings on. We just haven't had capacity to pull all this together with COVID and all the other demands that have been sort of coming on the department and short-staffed. But we will do what we can.
I will also just put a plug in, since we're talking about access for transition age youth, that we're really struggling with capacity for people to help us analyze data for the gaps analysis. It's really easy. Anyone can do it. It's really just reading and making notes about things that seem interesting or themes that come up in people's interviews. So if you are interested and have some time, or you know anyone who might be, please let me know, because right now it's just 3 of us and it's taking a long time. So put a plug in for that. We've got a lot of transition age youth interviews we're trying to analyze.
Other topics?
Have we, and maybe I missed this, have we heard back from DHA?
No. We're still trying to work on DHA. And we're trying to get DHA to complete their required pre-application for their COC NOFO, and have not heard from them on that, and have Reginald reaching out to Anthony Scott to see if we can bridge some of these gaps, because we really do need to talk to them, and we're trying to do it.
So Reginald didn't have any luck, I take it, because I thought he was trying to reach out to them last meeting.
I think there are so many issues that DHA is trying to deal with and trying to juggle. This one may be getting bumped further down the list, but I'll raise it back to Reginald, see if he and Karen have been able to get anything else on the burner with them. Because I have made it clear that we really need DHA to come and talk to us, and Reginald understands that it's important. And I think there's a lot of other issues. There's a site visit that they're preparing for right now for a potential massive grant from HUD that's coming up in the next week. So there's always something. And we're just trying to figure out how to squeeze it in and make it work and make it a priority.
We can't do any public housing applications unless you're a senior and you're on that RAG group. We don't even have access to the applications for public housing. This is ridiculous.
And DHA is not doing any new vouchers except for the EHVs.
Right, so they're not doing new
Yeah.
vouchers, and we can't apply for public housing.
Yep.
Like, so that's like nothing. We have nothing.
Yep. And I think some of that is they're trying to move folks around and trying to, we just need them to come and explain what's happening and what a timeline looks like. And trying to get them to do that has been a big challenge. And a big part of it is the same day as our meeting is the same day as their meetings with their boards. And that's been a conflict. So I've suggested that maybe we move our HSAC meeting and have our HSAC meeting join their board meeting and do a joint meeting somehow. I don't know what the answer will be, but
if we can't talk to DHA, can we talk to DHA board?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out is how do we get the information we need? And I don't know that the DHA board has the information that we need or want to hear, but it probably wouldn't be a bad idea for the DHA board and the HSAC board to sort of hear a joint proposal and have some conversations so that both parties are aware of what's happening.
Okay, because I also have some questions about porting.
Yeah, and
is
don't
that
think-
an option? I mean, I was able to. I had one client back at the end of the year that I was able to successfully port before the time
Mhm.
like expired, like a non-traditional one, but like an urgent push that
Mhm.
Kishma helped me with. But if I understand correctly, there are tons of people still out there on housing search. And so then my questions are they helping those people consider port as an option? Are they helping them reach out? Because you actually have to reach out to the other counties, DHA, or other cities, DHA, and get approval for them to accept the port. So I'm
Right.
just curious, like, are they trying to do that so that people don't lose their vouchers? Like, what's happening?
But DHA also has rules about when you can port.
But they
And-
also have reasons that they can forego that.
Okay.
And I think that the issue that we're having right now with lack of landlords
Mhm.
actually may open up the opportunity for folks to port. Whereas I'm not a great proponent of porting, but
Mhm.
if the people's option is to stay on the street or go to another county, I think they should have that option.
Sure, absolutely. And I know right now, I think Hanalea, out of our 64, 68 EHVs, what, all but 5 of them have been issued? Is that about right? I know we've got a lot of emergency housing vouchers that people are looking for housing with them right now.
Sorry, I was muted and was talking. I was trying to say that I could pull up the data. Give me a second. I mean, it's in the 6 to 10 range. You know, it's a bit fluid because you've got some expiring, and then we'll get some back. So it's in the 6 to 10 range of how many we have left. But yeah, I mean, I'm in total agreement with Sharita. I mean, this has long been a discussion point for me with DHA. I always felt that they should lift their requirement that people can't port until they've been housed for a year. And we've tried to, I mean, I'm surprised to hear you got an exception, Sharita, because I tried with one client that was about to lose their voucher and I couldn't get it a while back.
Well,
my person
had already been. My person had already been housed. They just hadn't been there. Yeah. They just hadn't been in their unit for a year. They had already been housed with the voucher.
Right, that makes sense. Yeah, this was someone who hadn't been housed and had been searching for a year, and they lost their voucher because they were unable to port. But yeah, so I think that's absolutely something we should be talking about, but add it to the pile of things that we need to discuss with DHA. I don't know that anything is going to move on. I mean, we're lucky that we can port the EHVs immediately because of Congress, so that's a non-issue. But once we get regular HCVs in the market again, that's going to be an issue again.
Yep. So got a lot of moving pieces. We'll keep working on trying to get them to a meeting or getting a joint meeting pulled together. Other thoughts, concerns, issues that we need to go over today?
I don't have any. I do want to apologize to Jerome for not welcoming him here this morning. Thank you for coming today.
I feel welcome anyway. I'm interested. I'm a little behind. The learning curve is going to come, but I'm a little behind. I'm interested in a lot of things that's going on, such as the connection with DHA and how things are going with them and landlords being disgruntled. The issue to me is there's a problem. We need to find out what the problem is and then look for the solution. Then I think if we look at it like that, then we'll have a little bit more wiggle room to have some negotiations done. So I'm very interested in what's going on. I'm not going anywhere. Thanks for welcoming me, Helen. I've already talked to Colin a long time ago. He and I have already met. So
we're buddies.
Yeah, we're buddies, BFFs. But I'm not going anywhere.
Cool.
Okay, we're glad.
Right. And Sharita, I got some conversation you and I have to have also. Okay.
Great. Well, thank you. Well, I guess if there is nothing else, we can adjourn the meeting unless there's some compelling reason to continue for another 30 minutes?
So I put some stuff in the chat. And y'all might not want to talk about it, but I'm concerned. So I don't know. I think I shared it with Colin about the tiny homes for $500,000.
What
And
tiny
I
homes
know
for
that-
500? Hold on, what tiny homes for 500,000?
didn't hear about the tiny home community and the units of $500,000? You haven't heard about that in Durham right now?
Where is it?
I have to send it to you. I have
Okay.
to send it to you. But I'm concerned because my question is, what can we do? I thought that the solution about changing the density was a move towards trying to create some options for multi-generational housing and more affordable housing in our community. I see now that it feels like it's being accosted by developers to take advantage of this thing that we haven't seen to take advantage of now that we have it in play as a tool in our toolbox. And so my question is, is there anything that HSAC can do? Is there anything we can communicate to our city county governments about our concerns about it? Is there anything that we can do to encourage city county governments to help us in that endeavor, building some tiny home communities, or doing some non-traditional partnerships with Habitat and approaching them to do some other creative things to open up affordability? I'm just really, really, really concerned because I just feel like they're going to accost the tiny home market, and then we won't be able to do it because we'll be so far behind, and they'll have set the standard for what tiny homes cost. So I just believe that we should be on it, and we should be holding people accountable and their feet to the fire. And if there's anything we can do or say to try to impact it in a positive way for our folks, then I feel like we need to be doing it.
So I think you raised some really good points, Sharita. And I know Reinvestment Partners is in the process of bringing a more than 50 efficiencies online in the next few months. And I know that there is a lot of stuff in the works that's coming out of the community development department through RFPs that have recently gone out and closed. And all of those are redevelopments, new construction that take several years to get built. And a lot of the stuff that has been sort of under contract and in construction for affordable housing that would take people with vouchers and 30 and 60% AMI have kind of hit a bunch of, slowdowns due to the economy and supply chain issues and cost overruns. And a lot of folks are coming into the city asking for more money and trying to figure out how do we cover these gaps that contracts were issued 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago for construction, and costs are going up 25% a year due to just the market conditions that we're in. So there are, I think it may be good to hear from the multifamily team or from community development about kind of what's in the pipeline, that there is a lot of stuff happening, and it's just a matter of figuring out how to make it all work and making sure that we communicate that information and get that out there. I just think it's not getting shared enough. But
Okay, it just breaks my heart. It just breaks my heart. I just feel like everything we're doing, it takes so much time, and they just have the ability to build a whole lot faster because they have the resources at their disposal. And I just feel like there's gonna be nothing left when we finally get there.
Well, once we get there, we'll have, there'll be buildings, but it's just getting to that point where we have those units available.
All right, I think I'm done, other than the fact that I don't know if you guys were aware, but Durham Tech had a Zoom session. They were soliciting feedback from the community about their project they're embarking on, and it was yesterday, and I missed it. They had one a Zoom call at 12 from 12 to 2 and one from 6 to 8 last night. You can go on the Durham Tech website and sign up to get updates and get invited to future meetings, but seems like they're making an effort to try to get some community feedback on this new housing pursuit that they have in play. So I would just remind folks that that's just something else that's on our radar that's coming up that could definitely serve the folks that we're working with.
I had seen something about that a few months ago, but they were working on something that I didn't realize that didn't know they were this far along. So that's good. I'll have to look that up. Thank you.
And Sharita, if you could send me the tiny home stuff, I would be interested in looking at it.
When I heard when the press release came out, I quickly went to Durham Tech's page and tried to find the information, and I signed up. And so I'm assuming that's how I got this initial invitation that I got, because I was curious about kind of what they were doing and how they were thinking about going about doing it, and also trying to figure out how, if HSAC wanted to throw our hand at making some requests for some of our folks who were maybe at Durham Tech taking classes. So just trying to figure out how their design was going to be, and to be able to lend my voice to the conversations early on in the process, in hopes of being able to advocate for our folks with this Durham Tech housing option.
Okay. Would you like me to see if I can get somebody from community development to talk at HSAC about sort of what's in the pipeline, like that's being recommended for contract or in the process of being put in contract?
I think that's a good idea, because I did hear about something that's going to be out by Bragtown area, some big development too, that I hadn't heard anything about until, from what I understand, they've already probably started the clearing of the process or whatever for these units. And I didn't know that was even something that was at play. So I'm thinking that community development would have some information about that. So I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk to Karen and Matt Walker, see if we can talk about, because I mean, all we can talk about is kind of what are we currently putting money into, and what are the contracts that we have control over. We're not necessarily going to know all of the private development or other stuff that's happening.
It would be great for us to have an asset map, a housing asset map, about current projects we have and projects in the workings. And if we have some way of finding out about the private endeavors, to be able to have that on our map too. Because sometimes, we might not be able to go directly through our process for those outside providers. But if we know that that's a resource for our clients, we can, navigate that world for them, or help them navigate that world of private income-based housing or whatever.
Okay. I'll see what I can do. I'll put it on the agenda, see if I can talk to Karen or Matt, see if we can do a short presentation about assets in the pipeline.
Sounds like it's going to be a full meeting now.
Always ends up being one, doesn't it?
It's okay. Don't apologize for being an advocate, Sharita. Never.
No, it's important.
Appreciate that. Well, is there anything else? If not, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
That's my last duty as on the executive committee. I move to adjourn.
I second that motion.
Mhm.
Well, Dr. Birch,
Are
thank
you
you.
sure there's no way you can stay?
Yeah,
The-
open seats. I mean, you know,
That's up to Colin. He's the general on the battlefield.
I would love for you to say, unfortunately, it's a HSAC bylaw.
See,
oh,
But that's why I'm saying Dr. Birch can come to every one of these meetings in perpetuity. And the good news is he can come and share his wisdom and help us move things forward. And he gets the benefit of not having to take notes. He doesn't have to do minutes anymore. He just gets to come and help us make everything better. And, you know,
I can spell Jonathan with 2 H's and McCullers with the U.
yep.
Well, we have a motion and a second. Dr. Birch, thank you so much for your service.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I obviously, as Colin said, welcome back anytime.
You'll see me. I tell you, like a bad penny, I'll be there. So.
But we will find you somehow, Dr. Birch. We will find you somehow, some way, and loop you back in, because we need your voice, we need your experience, and we need we need to hear what you're seeing. So please join us.
Will do. Thank you, guys. You all have a wonderful day. I've got to get back to this session now.
All right.
Thank
Talk to you
you.
soon. All right.
Meeting is adjourned.
Sounds good. Bye.